Hi, everyone. Thank you again if you are just now joining us and haven't heard Brooke and I talking for this month's monthly InfoPulse webinar. Brooke is our special guest, and we'll be talking about hinge effect and how that affects your digital ecosystem. But just quickly, Brooke, she is the owner and lead coach of Level Up Business Coaching. With extensive experience in the legal industry, she specializes in delivering results-driven training solutions in intake, case management, and leadership. Her training approach is grounded in systems theory, which is why we get along so well, which focuses on enhancing firm revenue by minimizing opportunity costs like lost leads, prolonged case handling, and leadership inefficiencies. Brooke loves to find hinges between training and tech, ensuring that human resources and tech solutions are complementing one another in order to extend the best possible experience to clients. The mission at Level Up is to provide exceptional consulting services that empower clients to achieve their business goals while simultaneously scaling all departments. They offer customized, team-oriented solutions tailored to the unique needs of each firm and business. Their programs emphasize emotional intelligence, ensuring that their clients experience lasting transformational results rather mere temporary behavior changes. What sets Level Up apart is their strategy of fostering organizational health from the inside out, complementing existing systems like EOS. They are best suited for firms with at least 2 tiers of leadership, senior and middle, and dedicated team members eager to support business growth. So thank you, Brooke. I'm so excited to have you here and be our guest.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Jackie. So the short version of that is, at Level Up, we love systems and we love people, and we like to help systems and people work together for maximum law firm or other business types of revenue, efficacy, etc. That's what we like to do.
And I think that's why, this webinar was so easy to come up with and plan. We went on a tangent over breakfast one morning, and we've been talking about it since, how long has it been? September or October?
Roughly, yeah.
Yeah. So this has been months in the making for us, and I've enjoyed, all of our conversations, and they've just flowed so naturally. And I'm looking forward to, sharing, your own advice and what you've seen, and the different parts where, not only ourselves can help, but also too in helping making the decision, what you should be looking for, what is out there, and then also, trial error. So I will let you take it away from here.
Thank you. Yes, and I'm looking forward to learning more about what InfoFlex does and being the hinge, and you all are in for a treat. So if we can go ahead and share the screen. There it is. So I've heard a lot of people say in all kinds of business is that the tech stack is frustrating. And by tech stack, I mean the different platforms that we use in order to manage our operations, manage our client communications. And there's a lot out there. And a lot of people get their tech stack from recommendations from others. There's always a lot of conversation among business owners about which is the latest platform that works well. But what ends up happening is that we tend to be a little bit inefficient about building our tech stack and sort of just chasing the next productivity or the next feature, rather than really thinking critically about how much do I want to spend on tech stack? What do I want my tech stack to do? What are places where duplication can occur? What are some areas that will be frustrating to my team members? And so it really does require an analysis if you are operating, a business with any amount of volume, to really think hard about your tech stack and what you're choosing to support your operations. And so here are some features of an inefficient tech stack. And I see this all the time, that pieces don't talk to each other. So we have different platforms that have open API and closed API, and there's all kinds of ways to get tech to talk to each other. But the reality is that sometimes they just don't do it very well. And so we can have two pieces of technology that we absolutely love that don't talk to each other. And so that can result in duplication, frustration, overpaying, and just not really knowing which data set to rely on if you are splitting data between more than one platform. Have you ever seen that, Jackie, in your work?
That's pretty much 90% of what I see. So what we do is a lot of IT consulting, and specifically for what you talk about. So when you think about the hinge, and when you're talking about API integrations, what that does is connect your software together, either in one dashboard or a quote unquote single pane of glass. Like if you think of a window where they talk to each other, and that can help simplify things. So that's where the low code, no code, transformation or digital transformation pieces can come into play.
I'm looking forward to hearing more about no code, low code.
Yeah. It's a lot.
Yeah. Jackie is the brains. She's the brains behind the tech part of this conversation for sure. Okay, so the next part that I see all the time is that full functionality is lacking. So what that can be is just you're using one tech platform and it does like 80% of what you want it to do. And so you think, of course, it's worth the money. But there's a significant issue with functionality that you try to fix in other ways, maybe even by adding another tech platform. So let's say that you have a management software or a CRM that their functionality on tasking is subpar. So there's, let's say that you can't, prioritize task or something else is wrong, but you don't want to get rid of your CRM. And so you add a Slack or you add, another project management software. Well, now you have just another piece that up to the puzzle that you're paying for just for that one functionality. And then that can be confusing too, to your team members and like, well, we're supposed to operate inside this platform for 80% of what we do. And then for that 20%, we're using a different practice management feature. So it can result in zapping things together, kind of cobbling things together that also reduces functionality. It's not perfect. And nothing is ever going to be perfect, but what we want ideally is to reduce the frustration and the lack of functionality. And then, of course, we have features that are missing, but there's not enough access to make changes. So let's say that you are, you're a middle manager and you're not in charge of the tech stack. Or you are in leadership and you ask the tech platform to make the change and they don't, right? So that can result in frustration as well. You know that the feature is missing, but you just don't have the tools that you need in order to make the feature yourself unless you have a coder on your team. And there's probably not too many businesses out there that have a coder on their team. If you do, then you're very lucky.
More majority of businesses, they don't, that's for sure, unless they've been in business for a long time. They will say they're a early adapter in technology, so they're always looking for the next best thing, trying to stay ahead of the trend, trying to stay ahead of the game, trying to make things as easy as possible. But those are also the people too who have, let's call them IT allies. So especially like you were just saying, they have an IT department or they have, someone helping them with the coding side of things to explain all of this to them. And that's where we see a lot of times is where people, and I'm sure this is coming up later on, where they start thinking of technology or their tech stack as, burning through their revenue, or it's not an investment. It's really just a pain for them because they, like you're saying, they don't know how to use it. They don't have an IT ally to show them either what they actually need or point them in the right direction to create an ecosystem for them and then have that hinge where it makes sense.
And it turns into an albatross almost, and it's working well enough to say, well, we can't interrupt the entire operations to make these changes, but you've still got that 20-30% lack of functionality that becomes very frustrating and draining on the resources.
Yeah, and that 20-30%, when you think about it, doesn't seem like a lot, but that 20-30% when it's your day-to-day operations or your sale or your customer success team or whoever it may be. If you have a sales team, that 20 to 30% could be significantly, impactful to their processes or how they're doing their work, or maybe there's data that's lost or information that's slipped through the cracks because there's either not that hinge piece or they're not using the right software.
Exactly. And I train teams on time management, client communications, and this is something that I see a lot is that, there's just that one or two pieces of the tech stack that don't work for them. They're working against them and they have to work around them. Mm-hmm. And then that takes up a lot of staff time sort of doing the workarounds. And the staff, sometimes take it upon themselves because they're great staff members and they work on it, but then that could also make things more complex.
Yeah, it stresses them out. They spread themselves too thin. There's always a workaround, and that's great. But sometimes the workaround is not the best option, and it counteracts what the purpose of what you're trying to do.
Right, exactly. So speaking of staff, this is the direct impact that you'll see on team members when the tech stack is not at full functionality or has a significant gap like 20 or 30%. The team members get frustrated. So they have expectations placed on them that they produce at a certain level, and sometimes that production just runs into a tech stack that isn't working for them, like we talked about already. And so we frustrate our team members by giving them unrealistic expectations about what they can accomplish with the tools that they have or the tools that they don't have.
Whenever you've been working with, whether it's a law firm or another business, and this is their main pain point, how do you approach that with them?
I ask first if there's a way that we can get the platform to make an adjustment, because that's the easiest thing to do if they're willing. It depends on how big the company is and how many layers you have to go through to get to it. If that's not possible, then I give them a different prescription or a different route. So let's say that the task is task management and we can't prioritize tasking like on Google Tasks, you can put a due date on them, mm-hmm. which is ideal. So you have a task and you can put a due date and a priority on it. Let's say, for example, that you don't have that functionality, then you actually have to pick your tasks out of the task line and manually figure out what to prioritize. Because if you can't do that, then everything's a priority and it's 50 tasks long. Mm-hmm. So that really interrupts somebody's workflow. If they don't have the tools, then they're just going to have to do it manually and check things off as they go.
Yeah, and that's so time consuming, and time is the most valuable thing. Mm-hmm. Why not implement something where it's going to automate, all of those mundane tasks that you don't necessarily need to focus on because there's some type of technology out there that can help you with it, where you can start focusing on what really matters, whether it's the customer success side or the process side or training and development or designating someone to be their quote unquote IT ally to help, initiate the change or, not just change, but initiate the upgrade.
Right.
Because that's essentially what you're doing.
Right. And in that situation, just the one that I provided before, I would actually recommend investing, if you needed to invest in some sort of coding to rectify that. In the short term, it'll be more expensive, but in the long term, if team members can prioritize their tasks the way that they need to, it's going to save a lot of money in opportunity cost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Not only just opportunity cost, but also in terms of the technology cost as well. So I have a very long history in the hospitality industry, and I kind of like to refer to technology. It is an investment, but if you think of it in like hospitality terms, it's a revolving cost because there's always, something that's coming out that's better, or if there's an upgraded version, or maybe there's a new API, like there's Gemini AI now, and there's Copilot, and there's triggers you can implement and, automate tasks or reminders, and all of these things you might already have. You just never knew how to use them, or you're thinking of it as a cost and you're not taking that initiative to get uncomfortable with your business to maybe find something that works and helps.
Absolutely, yeah. I like to call this the robots versus humans conversation, and I think it would be worth it even just to hire a tech consultant to show you everything that automation can do for your business. Robots versus humans just means that you should never have a human doing what a robot can do. You should never have a robot doing what a human should be doing. So for intake, for example, I do not like AI to be involved in answering calls. I think humans should always do that. But there's a lot of robot stuff that you can do around it. Follow up, pre-qualifying through forms, sending automated messages, all of that. That should be built into the cake. So I think businesses should hire a tech consultant probably about once a year, because that's how quickly technology is advancing, to find out where they can save a little bit of money using automations and then really leverage their human resources to be the best that they can be.
That, or utilize, if they notice they have an early adapter in their company already, talk to them about it and see if maybe that might be a new position. It's also could potentially create a new position in a company where it increases revenue stream. It gets your current employees or peers around what you're trying to initiate, and then you have that champion inside, and then it just helps foster not only the growth, but customer success, and then you can focus, like you're saying, on the human aspect of your business.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good point. So some other areas that can be very frustrating is duplicating data entry. So let's say that you have a business that requires digital filing, and you're using multiple platforms that have shared functionality. So we use here at Level Up, we use Monday.com project management and Google Classrooms. And sometimes those would require, if we didn't set it up the way we wanted them to, they would require duplicate filing. So that's just one example where you need things because you use them all the time. You need them to be in both places. But if you don't have some sort of automated system that puts that in place, then you're going to be double filing, duplicating data entry, things like that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So we're working on a project right now, and it's funny that you brought this up, is the duplicate data entry. It's a college or a technical school, and they were doing all of this process manually. And just as you were saying, they have duplicate data entry. So that's one of the, what we're helping them with is an applicant tracking system so that they don't have to do the duplicate data entry, because even though you might have checks and processes in place and you think you're, dotting your I's, crossing your T's, we're all human. Things fall through the cracks. And that's where the robotics side can help you, is making sure that everything does migrate. But that's also too where, a silver lining, you do have to make sure you're working with someone who knows what they're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah, you want to be sure that you can rely on that in the long term. All right, so this is more along the lines of what's frustrating internally. Here are some points on how client experience suffers. So this is particularly with sales and CRM when and client management, if you have like a law firm or you have a spa or a fitness studio, anything where you need that data to be where it's supposed to be in order to properly serve your client. Anybody in your business should be able to look at your platform and know exactly what has happened most recently with this person. And so if, let's say the data isn't there and it hasn't been filed properly, or it's been filed somewhere else but not updated in another platform, then you run the risk of giving somebody inappropriate information just based on that expectation that the file is up to date. Reliance on AI without checks and balances. So again, we want robots to do everything that robots can do. We talked about this a little bit already, but there has to be checks and balances in place. And so sometimes we develop a tech stack too quickly and we say, oh, this meets my needs. Oh, this meets my needs. Oh, this is cool. It's going to save me time and money. And then we go ahead and implement it and we don't do quality control on it. It can actually make things worse, make things a bigger mess. Have you ever seen that, Jackie?
Oh, yeah, definitely. A lot of times companies think they need a CRM, but they might need something different. Like, for example, we're a cloud solution company, so we stretch across a lot of different industry verticals, but we're helping a construction company out and they thought they needed a CRM, but what they actually need is a partner management system because they don't actually go out and do, B2C or cold calling or residential, but they have, strategic partnerships in place with different companies, and they want to keep track of where those partnerships are coming into play, how much revenue are they bringing in. So they don't need a CRM, they need something else. So that goes back to what you were saying, and getting as much advice as possible, having that conversation to really understand what you need, not what you think you need.
Exactly. Another issue that I see fairly often is that clients are being communicated with by too many platforms. There's so many ways to communicate with clients: calling, texting, emailing from your CRM, emailing from your practice management platform, emailing from, whatever else that you're using as an add-on. And so, and then emailing directly from Google or whatever your platform is for your office email. And so when we have too many platforms that don't talk to each other, we run the risk of clients receiving too many communications, which is better than too few, but we want to be just right, like Goldilocks, and really intentional about how we communicate with our clients. And then along those lines, if you have a CRM and a practice management software, is that they don't always transfer from one to the other, even if they're built to. And so if you're not mapping statuses, you could end up mapping statuses actually manually from one to the other, and that is a big time suck.
Oh, yes, it is. People, everything, if you can do it, it's great to do it yourself. But whenever it comes to running a business, or even if you're managing a business, you're a project manager, you're in HR management, whatever it may be, your time is so valuable. Every single minute counts. I think it was either the last webinar or the webinar before, but there were some statistics whenever you start to automate how much time you actually do save, and it ends up being like 40 hours a month or something like that. That's an entire week of your life that you can get back if you just take the initial time, because it does initially take time to find out what you actually need, get the correct training and, ally behind it, where in the long run, you get all of that time back.
And more. Yeah.
And more. Yeah.
It pays dividends in the future. Yes.
Yes. I feel like it's the one way you can get time back.
Yeah, exactly. And then finally, when it comes to your human resources, your beloved staff members, they have that extra layer of stress because they don't have that clarity that they need. They don't have that streamlining efficiency that's required. And that reduces the value of their work and communications. It just does. It doesn't mean anything. Your staff members could be the most amazing people on the planet, and if the tech stack is a mess, then they're just not going to get things done the way they should, and they're going to be stressed about it because most of our team members care about what they can produce, right?
Yeah, and then they get frustrated, and that can create, bad energy, whether it's in the office or if they work from home, then, they're not. It brings this bad taste to the workday with them. And, the more you champion not only for your business and, ROI and cash flow, you should be doing the same for your employees as well.
Absolutely. All right. So the point of all of this is that you may not need another platform to add to your tech stack. It's possible that you just need a hinge. So Jackie, tell us, what can a hinge do?
So a hinge can connect your platforms, either like we were saying, with API integrations or behind the scenes, or create that single pane of glass. With low code, no code, what that essentially means in layman's terms is we have 80% already built out for you, and we take a consultative approach. So this is what we were talking about throughout this whole webinar, is really being mindful and getting the best advice from multiple different companies or consultants or whoever it might be, friends, family members, and really making the best decision for what your business actually needs. So with low code, no code, we plug and play what you need, or we recreate it for you if we're able to do so. So like we mentioned earlier, there's always a workaround, but sometimes those workarounds ends up being not as beneficial as you were thinking. So again, when you think of a hinge and rapid application development or low code, no code or digital transformation, that's essentially what that means is it helps connect your technology to flow, automate, and help your employees work the way they need to without getting bottlenecked or having to increase your tech stack cost because you're implementing software after software. Did I explain that well enough, Brooke?
That sounds amazing. Tell me about, like, if I was somebody who had maybe 3 tech stack platforms, a CRM, a practice management, and then some sort of time management like Slack, project management. How would you help those 3 to fit together? Does it matter what kind of a program it is?
To a certain extent, it really just depends on the company and whether or not, they are open to collaborating with, other platforms where that API is open. So it all depends on the company and the situation, but majority of the time, especially with, AI coming out and open AI and, Zapier, again, it's becoming more and more common to where companies are collaborating to get the technology that your client wants. So, for example, we have a partner where we're utilizing Jiffy with their Salesforce as well. So, Jiffy, it's a low code, no code platform. So, 80% of the framework's built out. So we initially start, and our niche is, small to mid-market businesses. So we're able to help them start out and scale and grow with our platform. So starting out could be as simple as email licenses and Google Workspace, and that already has, AI implemented for scheduling and reminders and tasks in your email now. So companies are also unaware that they're already starting their own AI journey unintentionally. And then with Jiffy, that integrates with this content management system, so their website. So they're able to visualize the data from there, where people are visiting their website from, what links they're clicking on, what information they're looking at, to give them actual real data on the Jiffy CMS dashboard, where they can visualize, Google Analytics, what marketing campaigns are, um, performing well, or, that also ties into, because Jiffy, again, it's a low code, no code platform, also can act as a client relationship manager or a partner management system or an applicant management system, where all of these things tie together as a hinge. And then you have one platform where you see all of this information.
Wow. So it even integrates with your website?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So website, practice management. It's is it like a chameleon, like it becomes whatever you need it to be?
Essentially, so that's where the scaling side comes into play. So that's why we say small to mid market size businesses. If you're just starting out, we can help you with the simple things. And then as you're scaling, that's where you can implement whether you need a CRM or outside of the content management, or content management system for your website, whether you need like the client relationship manager or the customer success management system, or you need to implement an HR management platform for onboarding new employees because you're bringing on new hires. So that's where our consultative approach comes in. So we give you an MVP where you start out, whether it's your website or even just an application starting point.
Mm-hmm.
And then as your needs change, the Jiffy platform can scale with you, or where that hinge can come into play with the API integration, connect the other technology you may be using if it's outside of our capability. Then it brings it all together in that quote unquote single pane of glass, or ties it together with a hinge.
So if you didn't, if you had Jiffy or the Hinge, would you be able to get rid of all your Zapiers, all your Zaps?
It depends. Again, this
Uh,
is where that consultative approach comes in. So it
okay.
depends on the needs and if it's within our wheelhouse. We have also too, strategic partnerships in place where it is outside of our wheelhouse, where we can point you in the right direction.
Okay. Interesting. And how does somebody get set up for a consultation with you?
Yeah. they can either visit infoflex.com, or they can reach out to me here on LinkedIn, or they can reach out to me, jackie.mosier@infoflex.com.
Awesome.
I
All
always love having conversations about this. I am an unrealized tech nerd, so
right. You are well on your way. Yeah.
yeah, I'm learning every day, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. Um, is there anything else that you're interested in knowing about the Hinge, Brooke, or is there anything else I can answer for you?
Are we able to take questions from viewers?
Um, I don't. That's something I'm going to have to figure out on the next one.
Okay.
But I did not see any on the webinar right now on the preview. It will send me comments though. So if I send any, I'll send them to you, or see any, I'll send them to you too.
Okay, perfect. All right.
Awesome. Well, this has been such
Yeah.
a pleasure.
If you think you might need a Hinge, I highly recommend calling Jackie. She's a professional. She's really good at what she does. And if you need time management and client communications coaching, reach out to me. My email address is Brooke, BROOKE, at leveluplawfirmcoaching.com.
Awesome. Everyone should reach out to Brooke. She's amazing. I love bouncing ideas off her, and she gets great feedback, and her energy is, she always just makes you feel really good. But you can, again, reach her at Level Up Law Firm Business Consulting, and Brooke at leveluplawfirmcoaching.com. Brooke Berkey on her LinkedIn. And I look forward to seeing you all again. Don't forget to follow InfoFlex on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and X, and we will see you all next time. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.